Thank you for joining executive webinar session of Bimser International. Bimser International is a leading global enterprise software publisher since 1998. Based in New York, Bimser is active nationally and internationally. Today, we will cover ISO 9001 and introductions to QDMS software. Now, I am inviting the Managing Director of Bimser International, Kevin Devassi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Devassi. I'm the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today, I have my colleagues with me in our panel. We have Alex Kvarterov, who is the President of MRS Consulting Company. And we also have Team Bimser International. And we'll also be learning about QDMS software from my colleague, Sam Watt, who is the Senior Pre-Sales Software Engineer at Bimser International. Today, we'll be talking about ISO 9001, how to help employees work in an ISO 9001 environment, and we'll be also introducing you QDMS software. So for that, we'd like to start with Alex, and let's learn about ISO 9001 fundamentals and how we can help employees get used to working in ISO 9001 management system environment. Alex, if you're ready, sure. I'd like to invite you to our virtual stage. Thank you. I'll stop sharing so you can continue.
All right, well, thank you very much, Kevin, for inviting me for this webinar. And today we're going to be talking about getting the employees to really accept the ISO management system, and how do you really entice the employees to participate and make the system really work. So that's really the topic for today's presentation. Before I start, I just want to very briefly introduce myself and my company, MRS Consulting. I am personally a certified ISO 9001 lead auditor, and I'm the sole proprietor of MRS Consulting. I've established my company in 2015 after a rather lengthy career as a project manager in a large aerospace company, which is certified to the AS 9100 quality standard, which is the aerospace standard. So after I left the company, I started to provide consulting services for various businesses to help them achieve and maintain ISO certification. And back in 2018, I came across Bimser Solutions or Bimser International, and I met Kevin, who introduced me to their software tools. And I became a solutions partner, in particular to help apply the QDMS tool to the ISO environment. And I found that tool to be a very, very important part of managing and dealing with the very large amount of data that ISO generates. And I also present a number of webinars and lectures on various ISO topics. So let's start the presentation. I just wanted to kind of refresh everybody on what is ISO, and that basically applies to all of the ISOs. There are quite a few which really support different types of organizations and you know, development work, but this is a very generic summary or pictorial view of what a quality management system is, and that is really the heart of ISO. And that diagram, which was really developed by Deming, who was a quality guru, And what it really shows, which is the heart of ISO, is continuous improvement. So you go through the various stages from planning to support and operation, performance evaluation, and improvement, and you continuously stay in that circle to achieve continuous improvement. Now, notice on the diagram in the center, uh, there's leadership. And leadership interacts with all of the activities of the quality management system. So this is really the message that I want to present here, is that leadership or management must participate and be involved in the quality management system. So first of all, before you actually bring in the employees into the ISO fold, you really have to make sure that management is on board, that they are embracing the principles of ISO, because without that, really, the organization will not be able to follow and adhere to the ISO principles. So let's say that in an organization, it was mandated to pursue ISO certification. And there's really two possibilities, really, why the organization is being asked to be ISO certified. As well, management decided on their own that it's a good idea. It will improve the company image. It's certainly an important feature to have to deal with the customers. So that's a decision that was made by management, and that's hopefully at that point they are aware what ISO is and what of the obligations are. But in many cases, it's not that simple, because the decision was mandated by somebody else, either by the owner of the company or maybe by the parent organization, and even the customer. The customer may require you to be ISO certified to provide him with whatever components or parts that he's ordering from you. Otherwise, he may have to terminate the contract. In that case, it's a little more difficult, because now this is forced upon management. And the management may say, well, now there's additional work that has to be done, there's additional cost, and so there could be some resistance on the part of management. So how do you really overcome that? Well, you really have to show what ISO can bring to the organization, and using examples from other organizations, show what the results are and the successes, because you really need to have the management buy-in and convinced that it's a positive decision. It's going to be a positive outcome once they adopt ISO. It may not be easy, but that has to happen. And how do you do that? Well, obviously you provide training. You show what are the responsibilities that management has to be ISO compliant, and also that it's the entire responsibility doesn't rest on management shoulders. It's really has to be flowed down to the entire organization. So every employee, every worker must be aware of ISO and what is his or her role in contributing to supporting ISO. Now, it is very important to make sure that the manager or the management understand that when audits are conducted with the certification bodies, which are sometimes referred to as registrars, that a lot of the discussions and the questioning will be with management. It's not that management, can designate a management representative, which, by the way, was the case with the older version of ISO 9001. But with the current version, the management representative position is no longer required. So management is fully responsible to make sure that the ISO process is implemented, and they will hold their feet to the fire, make sure that it is followed. So now, once you get management on board and they're convinced that it will help the organization, now you have to bring in the rest of the employees. And you know, the first obviously reaction is you have to overcome the initial resistance and complaints from the employees. Now, when I helped a small company of 8 engineers to achieve ISO certification, it was very difficult to convince them that that would be the best thing for the company. Because the typical response was, well, I always did it this way, so why do I have to change it now? Or you know, how there's an outsider that's going to come in here and who doesn't know our work, and he's going to dictate us how to do it. You know, those are the kind of, you know, at least reactions or thoughts that go through a number of employees. So obviously, the first effort here, it would be to provide some training, but not just, you know, teach them about ISO, but how ISO can actually help the employees and improve their performance and make it actually that make their work easier. It is not the intent of ISO to modify how the work is done by the employees, but really to improve their efficiency and instill this continuous improvement philosophy within the organization. Because obviously, no matter how many good workers you have, there's always an improvement which may not necessarily deal with the individual workers, but give them more capability to make their work more efficient and thus improve the overall performance of the organization. Again, the purpose of ISO is not to overhaul how the work is being done. Is really to streamline the processes and tasks and make the whole process more efficient. And again, the ISO does require for the organization to define the processes and make sure that their integration is organized so you improve the efficiency of the overall performance. And one part of it is to, wherever possible, adopt a digital implementation of all the quality management system documents and records. As I mentioned before, ISO generates a lot of information, data, and which are called records that have to be managed and used as part of the continuous improvement. So it's very important to have all that information readily available, and certainly a digital implementation using a tool like QDMS would certainly help and make life a lot easier for a number of people. And the last thing is obviously very important, is to encourage and solicit employee suggestions. Because again, if you listen to the employees and their ideas and suggestions are accepted and used in this transition, they will buy into it a lot more easily, because they now are convinced that management is listening to them. So they will obviously, if they suggest something, they will make sure that their suggestions are successful and they are making improvements to the organization. So it's again, it's you have to really play it by ear. It depends on the organization, but I think the important message here is to convince the employees that it is to their benefit to implement ISO and make them involved in this transition process. And as a final slide here is, again, I want to emphasize that management has to continuously support ISO. And they have to obviously be involved. There's the 5 principal functions of management, namely planning, organizing, staffing, coordinating, and controlling. But specifically, what they have to do in regards to making sure that the ISO implementation is successful is to monitor the QMS performance. Okay, it's a very important part of their responsibility. Again, they have to continuously review the effectiveness of the processes that have been established, and certainly as part of the continuous improvement cycle, those processes can be adjusted, modified, again, to achieve superiority in your organization. Digitizing all the QMS data, I think it's a very important aspect of dealing with ISO. And certainly a tool like QDMS, which I guess Sam will provide some examples of how it can be utilized, will definitely improve the efficiency and will make the audits a lot easier, because you really don't have to prepare for the audit since all the information is already stored within the QDMS tool. And then obviously management has to make sure that all of the ISO requirements are flowed down to all the levels of the organization, and that each individual is aware of ISO and understands the purpose of it. And important also to get the feedback from employees, because they're the ones that are doing all the work to make either the service or the product, and they know what they're doing, and you have to listen to them if they have any corrections or improvements that they are willing to offer to management as part of this continuous improvement process. And as a final statement, management has to be a champion of the ISO process. They cannot consider that to be a burden, because if they do, then it will just propagate through the organization. But be a champion and make sure that the process is successful, and as a result, if it's pretty much followed, then the company will see very successful results, which will ultimately improve their business and even the profitability. So that's really completes my presentation. And again, thank you for your attention. And I'm going to now turn it over back to Kevin.
Alex, thank you very much. Let me take over the screen and we can continue our executive webinar session. Great. Thank you for the insights and thank you for sharing your expertise, Alex. Much appreciated. Now I'd like to invite my colleague, Samvat, who is Senior Pre-Sales Software Engineer at Bimser International. And Sam will be introducing you QDMS software on a high level, how it looks, how it feels, how you can manage your employees, how you can train them, how you can keep training records, and so on. So for that, Sam, I'll stop sharing my screen so you can take over the screen if that's okay.
Thank you for joining today's webinar, and this is Sam, the Senior Pre-Sales Software Engineer of Bimser International. Now following, I will demonstrate you QDMS, and you will learn how QDMS helps you manage your quality management activities, including managing your non-conformity, corrective actions, and also your training digitally by using our system. QDMS is a web-based system. So after set up the system, you can connect to your own QDMS by using any web browser. And QDMS is also permission-based. So you will see what you're supposed to do based on the permissions that are granted to your account. Different users have different permission settings based on their role, position, profession, department, and group. Right after we log in, we can find all the pending tasks and also the request for approval on this homepage. On the top left, this is the main menu of QDMS. Thanks to the modular structure of our system, you can pick and choose the modules that you want to have and set up in your system. And first of all, let us get into the corrective action module. In this module, we can manage the non-conformity, define our root cause, and also schedule our corrective action. So all the corrective action will be shown in a list so that you can always keep tracking all the corrective actions and also non-conformity that you recorded by using our system. All your records will be shown in different status like open, reviewed, open, follow-up, and result. So the status will be determined based upon the progress that you're handling this record. And let me pull up one of the example on your screen. In the system, the non-conformity, the detail, and also the date and time that you open this record will be recorded in an archive of QDMS. Furthermore, the system will take you step by step. After you're creating a new record, you'll be able to assign this non-conformity to a solution team. Later on, the team has to perform the first progress report, meaning the investigation. After that, we can define our root cause, like why we are having this non-conformity in our system and also the reason and the root cause of it. After we define the root cause, then we can schedule the certain corrective or preventive action to a responsible person. This person has to update the system, like what they have done, and if there's no other follow-up actions required, then we can close this corrective action accordingly. So you may notice all the records, like while you're creating it or updating it, those will be recorded with the date and also the time, and saying the ISO auditor coming to your place and asking you how you manage your non-conformity and corrective actions. You don't have to look in your drawers or the files on your cabinet, and instead you connect to QDMS and you can show the auditors right away how to manage your corrective action activities. So first of all, the ISO auditor will be impressed, and second of all, it saves your time and also the cost, since you don't have to search all the records that you have. Saying you have 10,000 records, those are on paper, or even those are saved as an Excel file. So you don't have to find where you save that and where they are located. And actually, those are managed in one central location, which is QDMS. And in every single module of QDMS, there is a reporting tool that allows you to generate different ready-made reports. For example, like the approval status report, the cost report, and also the detail report. Furthermore, there is a graphical report that is available in QDMS as well. So under this corrective action module, we can put together certain graphical report, like if we want to see which customer we filed the most corrective action for in this particular time frame. You're more than welcome to have different criteria or conditions before or while you're generating your report in QDMS. And after that, your data will be shown as a bar chart or in a table based upon the report that you are generating. You're more than welcome to export your report into PDF, Excel, or image for sharing with any responsible parties. And in QDMS, we also have the training module that you can manage your training for your employees or for the department. And in QDMS, we can have our training plan, meaning the goal that we want to achieve. And under different plan, like what I show on the screen, you can create the training item, meaning like the objectives that help us achieve our goals. Let me take this as an example, like the PPE training. We have our training, and we want to make sure our employees, they have enough, they have the skill set and also the knowledge for using and managing the PPE. And after that, we can create different items, training items under this particular training plan. Meaning, there are different subjects that we are going to cover in this PPE training. So what we are going to cover, we can make them as a training item, like how to dispose of the PPE, how to maintain the PPE, and how to use the PPE. So that all of those can be managed, and while we are scheduling the training item, we can absolutely define the subject that we are going to cover, also like the date and also the time of this training. Who will be the trainer? Is this trainer coming from internally or externally? If there is a periodic training, how often that we should repeat or repeat this training? All of those can be defined and managed in QDMS. Furthermore, as we have our training item ready and also invited the trainer, we can also set up who should participate in this training, meaning joining as the trainee. We can invite them as a participant, and they will receive a notification in their own QDMS account and also in their email inbox. After we perform our training, we can also update the attendance of this training, like who joined the meeting, when they joined it, and also like the score if there's any task or quiz will be occurred in the training. All of those can be recorded in QDMS, and also all of those are traceable in QDMS, so that you can always keep tracking like the update of the training of our employees. As for QDMS, there is a native mobile application that is available for Android and iOS device, so that we can download QDMS mobile from App Store or Google Play Store and use QDMS by using our smartphone or tablet. I'm going to show QDMS mobile application on the screen. In your handheld device, like your smartphone, compare with the web browser, since they are going to and coming from the same database. So what you will see on your screen is all the planning tasks that we have after we log in, and like all the corrective actions that is waiting for approval or that is waiting for our review before we close it. Also like all the training that you have scheduled, and those I am invited as the trainer, or those I should participate as a trainee. You can also find all those modules. Those are available in our mobile application, and so that you can always connect to QDMS and manage your quality management activities anytime and anywhere. It comes to the end of my demonstration of QDMS on a high level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam, for the demonstration. Now I'd like to share some information about QDMS before having Alex's final remarks about ISO 9001 and how to manage and motivate employees about ISO 9001 deployment. When we look at QDMS software, we've been developing it as Bimser International since 1998. So it's a mature system. It's been in the market for decades. We have more than 1,000 corporate clients and more than 1 million professional users. It is Acumatica and Sage Intacct certified software solution. On QDMS, you can digitize your quality management system, your ISO, for example. You can take control of your compliance operations. You can improve your operations as in continuous improvement in a digital environment. You can have follow-ups in place so you can stay on top of your operations. And more importantly, in terms of business continuity, you can create a corporate memory. You can manage more than one compliance management system. On QDMS, you may be compliant with ISO 9001 or ISO 14001 and another ISO standard, for example. You can manage all of those in one QDMS software system, which is very advantageous for you. You can access the system from anywhere, from office, from work. If you're on a business trip, you can access QDMS as well. So you can manage your business processes on QDMS anytime you like. It is a safe and secure environment. It has security features in place. There is mobile application available so that you can use your smartphone or tablet for using QDMS on daily basis. It has advanced integration capabilities. QDMS integrates with ERP systems, CRM systems, manufacturing execution systems, and other modern business software systems. QDMS is vertical free. We have clients in many different industries using QDMS for compliance purposes: aerospace, aviation, automotive, manufacturing, healthcare, pharmaceutical, and there are many other industries that we have clients in. QDMS is modular. You can pick and choose any module that you like based on your priorities. There are more than 30 modules available, so you can pick and choose any module that you like and digitize and automate your quality management processes. So before we end our session, Alex, do you have any final thoughts, remarks that you'd like to share with our attendees?
Yes, certainly, Kevin. I just wanted to emphasize after the demo of the QDMS tool, how that tool can help all of the workers, all the employees in completing their work. And I see like 3 areas where the tool can help and make, obviously, the transition to this ISO environment a lot more successful and easier. Number one, all the information that the workers need to complete their job is available right there on the server, on the QDMS server. So he doesn't have to go and where could it be? You know, it could be on this laptop or this laptop. No, it's all in one place. And then certainly the preparation for an audit. And as you know, once you're certified, you have to have a yearly surveillance audit by the certification company. So again, if all that information is maintained on the QDMS, in the QDMS tool, then really there's almost no preparation, because right there, when the auditor comes, or it can even, the audit can be even done remotely, all of that information is readily available. And finally, I think that with this new policy of working remotely, and certainly a lot of companies, even though we're hopefully getting over the pandemic, but I think a lot of the companies are still continuing to do remote offsite work, and certainly QDMS tool can provide this link for each of the employees who's working offsite to give him like a window into the QMS system through this tool. So I think that in today's environment, a the QDMS tool offers many, many advantages. So that's really what I wanted to stress in conclusion to my presentation.
Alex, thank you very much, as always, for your expert insights and sharing these valuable information with us. Much appreciated. Before we end our session, I'd like to share some more information about Bimser International. There is annual virtual conference and summit of Bimser International every year, and this year we delivered it on March 16. There are recordings available on our YouTube channel. We have many informative and insightful sessions and expert panels about automation of business processes and digital transformation. So you can visit our YouTube channel, and we are getting ready for Synergize 2023. You can visit our Eventbrite page to register and secure your spot. On our Eventbrite page, you can also see different events of Bimser International, different activities, as well as webinars that you can see and register. On our YouTube channel, we have hundreds of videos, and we are adding new videos on a weekly basis. There are many informative webinar recordings and videos on digital transformation, predictive maintenance, as well as automation and Industry 4.0. So we invite you to visit our YouTube channel, and please subscribe to be notified when there is a new video available. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you at our coming webinar series.
Based in New York, Bimser is active nationally and internationally. For more information, please visit www.bimserint.net. Thank you.